Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Pickleball Recovery. I'm your host, Tim Ringgold. How you doing? Did you play any pickleball today? I have not. I did have a good session on the exercise bike, doing some zone 2 cardio today to some great dance music. Oh, it was good. Yeah, so building my cardio base, that was quite enjoyable. But it's nice to be with you on this, the final episode of Pickleball Recovery. Yes, it's true. This is it. We're going to wrap it up. That's a wrap. After 2+ years and 60 some odd episodes, it's time to close this chapter for me, at least. And it's been fun and it's been informative and it's been super valuable for me. And hopefully it's been super valuable for you. And today what I want to do is just kind of take a trip down, the lane, not memory lane per se, but just like to kind of review just like some of my favorite nuggets of wisdom and the devices, modalities, or practices that I'm still using the most that I was exposed to along the way. All right. And I just thought that would be a nice way to kind of wrap things up and get you to hear once more, oh yeah, this thing. Oh yeah, he talked about that thing. Oh, he's still using that. And I think it's important because what you keep using speaks for itself. Any practice you continue to do speaks for itself because you continue to do it. We get exposed to all kinds of products, all kinds of techniques, all kinds of tools in our lifetime, and we try lots of them. Many things we don't even try. And we need to hear about it umpteen number of times before we'll finally try it, which is one of the reasons why I interviewed senior pros and pro pickleball players over and over and over again so that you could hear what they are doing on a regular basis, because that social proof matters, because what we continue to do works. If it doesn't work, we don't continue to do it. And so that was the whole point. That was the psychology behind me interviewing these pros. I don't need to tell you what these things are. I'm only one source, but if you hear it 7 times from 7 different athletes who are anywhere from 25 to 55, you're going to be like, wow, everybody in the space is doing this. Okay, there's got to be something to this. And we call that social proof. And social proof is a real thing. Like, you go to restaurants that have been recommended to you. The number one reason people read books is because of a recommendation. The number one reason, right? You won't spend $100 on a bottle of wine that no one told you about. You won't. You will spend $100 on a bottle of wine that you've tasted or someone else has raved about. But you won't just go buy a $100 bottle of wine sight unseen, have no idea anything about it just to take a stab at it. It's not how we work as humans. We're pack animals, so we pick up on other humans' behavior. So that's why, we're just hammering you over and over and over. Success leaves clues. These are the things to do. And so I figured, well, I'm one of those people. I went from playing 0 pickleball almost 4 years ago. It was September of 2021 to playing senior pro now as singles and doubles. Although I am retired from singles at this current time. I'm quite happy to just be focusing on my doubles game. I had a personal goal. I wanted to become 5.0 duper rated in singles. I wanted to win a medal as a senior pro in singles. And I wanted to meet all the guys on the tour and play doubles with them. And all 3 things of those happened. And so it was like, okay, now do I want to keep going with singles, because it is absolutely wrecking my body and running me into the ground. And I'm not really enjoying my doubles as much because I'm just so worn down physically, because there are only so many days in the week to train both. And I said, no, I've accomplished my goals. It was fun, but I never got into pickleball to play singles. I just would start playing it to help burn off steam because I was a soccer player. And I saw a very smart strategy for how to break into the pickleball world, which was, get good at singles. I don't have to find partners to play in tournaments. I can travel on my own. I can meet people a lot faster. And, a tenth of the people play singles that play doubles. So the field is not as deep. I can learn quickly, get good fast, and, climb the ranks quicker in singles than in doubles. And so that's what I did. I went to work and, kind of achieved my goals. So it's like, okay, check. And that's kind of the person I am. I like to start stuff, do it, accomplish it, and then kind of stop and do something different. There's so many different things to experience in this world, so many things to get good at, and you can't do them all at the same time. So yeah, that's what happened with me, and kind of got off track there talking about singles. I can't even remember why, but it's okay. Let's do this. Let me kind of get back on track and just say thank you for being here. I want to also thank my sponsors along the way, AlloMD, which became Ultimate Repair X, and Zamst for sponsoring the podcast. That helped cover the real cost, because there is a real cost to producing a podcast. And, it's not free. It's like not even just the time. It's like it costs money. Like you have hosting fees, you have production fees. It all, adds up. And so that helped cover the cost of production of this. So without them, it would have been a lot harder. I want to thank all the pros and the senior pros who gave their time and their knowledge and their secrets very generously. I'm not going to list them. They're all listed on the podcast. You can go, check out all the different interviews. And then again, all the trainers, the vendors, the sponsors, the affiliates, like everybody who, came on the podcast to share their story, share their products, share their practices, share their techniques, share their advice, their observations. I learned a lot along the way, and I'm sure you did too, about stuff. I wasn't using like mobility, for example. The word mobility was not in my lexicon before I started this podcast, right? So let's just start with like, what are all the wisdom pieces that I picked up along the way? And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's kind of 7 things, 7 pieces of wisdom I want to tell you about. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Yeah, let's do 7 and 7. 7 devices that I am using on a regular basis, or products that I'm still using after discovering them on the podcast on a regular basis. And so I think that these will be like the 7 and 7 greatest hits, if you will. So when it comes to the devices, so if I look at how I start my day, pretty much the first thing I do is when I roll out of bed, I roll onto my PEMF mat, and I get pulsed electromagnetic frequency into my body right away, which increases cellular voltage. Your cells have a voltage, and they have to run at an optimum level. And when they don't, they can become precancerous and they can mutate. So your cells need energy. And that's one thing that we get from the earth. But in our modern sedentary lifestyle, we don't walk on the earth anymore. So a great way to substitute that is to get it through a PEMF device. And in one of my episodes, I interviewed Heather Hineker, and she talked about the Beamer, which is a product that, uses PEMF technology to deliver a very specific protocol to the body. I use a different brand. If I could go back in time, I would have bought a Beamer, but I didn't. And these devices are not cheap, so I'm not going to buy another one until this one is absolutely dead and buried. So PEMF, like using that to increase also microcirculation. So microcirculation, what is that? Like, you've heard of circulation, but here's the thing about our circulatory system that's just bananas. Like, I can't remember what the stat is. 66,000 miles, something ridiculous. Like, how long is your circulatory system if you stretched out all your capillaries, blood vessels, arteries, veins? Wraps around the earth, like, I don't know, what is it, like almost 3 times. It's unbelievable, right? That's possible. Like, no way. And what you want to think about is when you look at an anatomy, you see arteries and veins in a picture, and they're, those are like the highways, But really, just like in rural and in hometown America, like all the rural roads, all the single lane roads that are out there that connect all the empty dots and all the empty spaces between the dots on the map, you have all of this super, super small 1-lane, 2-lane roads running through your body that are like so narrow, like a single red blood vessel can go through them barely. Like they're super narrow, and they can contract, constrict, atrophy. Like there's all kinds of things that can happen. You can have, because of inflammation, they can swell shut. Like there's all kinds of stuff that can go on where those roads get blocked, and you no longer get nutrients to body parts. And that happens as we age. And so joints suffer as a result of that. Soft tissue suffers as a result of that. And by using technologies like red light therapy and PEMF specifically, they open up those 1-lane roads, allow them to have nutrients pass through them more successfully. And so that can help with chronic inflammation issues. It can help with injury sites that aren't healing. They're not getting enough of the, repair materials to the site that they need for reconstruction. And so that's one of the big things about PEMF that I love, is that it's managing these two very interesting, super nerdy things. All I have to do is lie down on a mat for 8 minutes in the morning and 8 minutes at night. And I'll be honest, I'm not nearly as good at lying at night on it as I am in the morning. I'm really good in the morning, much worse at night in terms of like my consistency. So done is better than perfect. So yeah, PEMF still using, and will continue to use. One device that I'm not using it on a regular basis because I'm not playing as many tournaments right now. But if I was playing more tournaments like I was last year, like I was the year before, and the year before that, and there were often times where I was playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or at least back-to-back, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday. One of the best devices I found for speeding up my recovery time was Firefly Recovery. If you go back to the episode with Anthony Jenstead, which is called How to Recover 3 Times Faster, or Recover 3 Times Faster. I think the episode title is in Apple and Spotify, and on YouTube, How to Recover 3 Times Faster. That device is crazy. Wow, what that does. I mean, like hip to toe, it increases blood flow by some what was it, like 400%? And then systemically, like your whole body, something like 30% increase in blood flow just from putting it on your legs. Really impressive device. Like I started using it a year ago, January, and I remember being like, oh, this is amazing. And what I liked about it, like I have compression boots, and I used to use compression boots. The problem with compression boots was that you have to lie in them still, and you can't go anywhere. Firefly Recovery, you put them on your top of your shins, and you can walk around. You put them on for a couple hours, and you just go about your day. And so I loved the portability of that. And they made me recover much faster so that I was fresher the next day. So if you're somebody who plays like every day, and you don't take enough time off, or you're playing back-to-back tournament days, I can't recommend Firefly Recovery enough. I mentioned red light, and so I'll mention it again here. I have a red light lamp that I use. It's like a 1 foot by, 2 foot panel that I have. And I first got it for my concussion to help heal my brain. And then as I literally read the book called Red Light Therapy by Ari Whitten, I was like, oh, red light therapy, can treat the whole body in different ways for different purposes. And so throughout my journey, I've used my red light lamp to help rehab, sprains, strains, tears, pulls, all the stuff along the way. And it's helped it increases blood flow to the area, increases mitochondrial production, which is the powerhouse of the cell, which is just about all anybody knows about mitochondria. But that's that powerhouse in your cell, in every cell. And there's this crazy thing about mitochondria. There's a couple of crazy things about mitochondria I've learned along the way. And I won't bore you with the details, but what I will say is anything you can do that will stimulate mitochondrial production for energy, to release energy. That's great in general for your body. And so red light being one of those. But what I particularly liked about red light was the synergy it had with PEMF over increasing blood flow to areas that typically don't get good blood flow. I use it just on my knees in the winter before I go play. I don't know how to explain this. It's not very clinical, but I'll just describe it in layman's terms because I'm not, I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Hey, if it's like 60 degrees, my knees feel like they have molasses in them. And if I use the red light panel for like 5 minutes on each side of my knees, while I'm wasting time on Instagram or Facebook, and then I walk around, I feel like I have motor oil in my knees instead of molasses. There's something about the red light therapy that allows my knees to move more smoothly, without pain, better range of motion, just easier. So it's been a great tool for me, like as needed, depending on what's going on. I had an ankle sprain. Okay, red light therapy helps the blood flow down to because if you have foot or ankle issues as you age, for anybody, circulation in your feet is terrible. So foot injuries are really hard to heal, and you need every tool you can get. And so red light therapy is a huge, huge benefit for chronic foot or ankle injury. So I've used it many times for that. Next is got to be the guys at Ultimate Repair X. That product is in a category by itself. I have never seen a similar product, flat out. There are a lot of topical pain creams out there. They are mostly they're mostly menthol based to mask the pain signal, and send a really strong competing signal to the brain, which is what menthol triggers. As you've ever felt it on your skin, like, whoa, you know it's there. What's different but that doesn't actually treat the injury that's causing the pain signal. What URX or Ultimate Repair X does is it actually supports the healing of the tissue. It reduces inflammation in that area. But it's more like putting on sunscreen, in that when you put on sunscreen, you don't necessarily notice you're wearing sunscreen, but you're protecting yourself against the sun. With URX, you don't necessarily notice something on you so much as you notice the absence of the pain signal, but you're not numb. So it's very unique. And that's why I spent 2 years in a booth putting it on people for free. That was an act of love. Week after week, because it was like, you just have to feel it to understand. And that was what happened to me the first time I put it on my body. I was like, I've never had anything like this. I forgot that I was having any issues with my back that day. The Masters in La Quinta. I'll never forget it. So I continue to use that product. What I like about it also is you can put it on prophylactically. So what I do today is I will put it on like sunscreen or skin lotion, where I'll just start at my feet and I will lube up my legs up to my lower back before I go play pickleball, and my legs stay fresher. They don't fatigue as quickly. There's less pain. There's less stiffness and soreness afterwards. In the same way that it's smart to preload your electrolytes, I preload URX. And there's there's a whole deeper level of discussion as to what it's really doing and what's the processes. And I'm not going to get into that right now because I don't want to bore you. But what I can tell you is that it's aloe based. The body loves aloe. It's like a transport. It moves right through the skin into the soft tissue. And basically what it's doing is it's feeding the tissue the nutrients that the tissue uses to repair itself. Amazing stuff. So good stuff. Still use it to this day. Go sleeves. I love my Go sleeves, man. Let me tell you, Two issues. I have a problem with KT tape. I've interviewed people about KT tape. Now, I have a skin condition. So for me, KT tape, there's a couple of reasons why I can't use it. It causes blisters for me because of my skin condition. But it also, when I would sweat, the corners of the KT tape or the ends would always start to delaminate, and then they'd roll backwards and they'd get stuck on my shirt, and then that would peel it, and it would get, it would be a big old pain in the butt, right? Or it would just come right off from sweating. And then compression sleeves would just, slide. They would just slide off my knee, or, they just wouldn't stay in place, constantly pulling them up like I'm pulling up my girdle, and so the guys at Go Sleeve solved two problems. One, they basically put this silicone on the inside of a compression sleeve to mimic KT tape. So now the compression sleeve stays in place. Like, it doesn't move compared to a regular compression sleeve. And then two, the benefits of KT tape. And listen, KT tape is totally different than athletic tape. Like, it has its place, and for some people it's great because what it does is it's not there to stabilize like a brace. It has a different purpose. It allows the skin and the soft tissue to slide and glide, like fascia and muscle, all to move more smoothly and release. And that's not what athletic tape does. So it's its own beast. And when you put the two together, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. You get Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And so it has this synergistic quality. So I wear Go Sleeves on my calves because what I've noticed in pickleball is the part of my body that actually takes a huge beating are the muscles from my feet up to my knees. I didn't play a court sport. I played soccer. Those muscles are totally like designed differently when you play soccer than what you have to do on a pickleball court. And so I just get knots and I get super sore in my calves, in my peroneus longus, or whatever the hell that thing is, in my soleus. Like, there's all these weird, tiny, long muscles in there that get beat to crap. And these sleeves have just been phenomenal for me. So like, you won't see me not wearing those on a court. When it comes to keeping myself energized on the court, I'm using GU energy products still to this day, despite the fact that they use maltodextrin. Now, maltodextrin is known to be like not the greatest ingredient out there. Some people throw a lot of shade at maltodextrin. Some people are like, meh, it's all right. It's not the greatest, but it's good for its purpose, for energy, for, if you're doing an endurance sport, there's only so much of it your body can handle in a 24-hour period, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. I've heard all that. I still love my GU products because I haven't bonked on a court ever since I started using them because you pop them in and within 5 minutes, you have the energy you want without feeling jittery. And that's like, well, what could be better, right? So way better source of energy than caffeine. And so I've used their energy gels, their energy chewies. I've used their electrolyte mix, their protein powder, recovery powder, their I've used it all. It's phenomenal. I love it. Okay, next, there's an app that you got to know about for recovery. And I did an interview with Jim Poole, the founder of this company called Nucalm, Nucalm. Nucalm is a phenomenal device. Like, the technology that's in that app. Now, this thing is not cheap. I'm just going to tell you, there's no way I'm spending that much money on an app. I get it. What you want to consider is it's not an app. It used to be like a class 3 medical device, I think class 3. And they figured out a way to get rid of the device and deliver the technology through an app through your earbuds. Okay, just hang with that. Imagine, so a PEMF mat, right, is a device that transmits this technology through the mat. And you need the mat to transmit the technology. And what this company did is they figured out a way to transmit the technology of Nucalm, this kind of acoustic modulation for the brain, through standard headphones, rather than having to buy any kind of proprietary headset or anything like that. That's a phenomenal technological leap. And this is a company that had been in production and working behind the scenes, working with the military for over a decade prior to coming to market just recently with this consumer app. what I can tell you is I recovered from my concussion. One of the reasons I recovered from my concussion so quickly was using this app, because what the app does is it turns off your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response, your stress response. And it turns it off in like record time. Like the only things out there that I know that turn off the sympathetic nervous system fast are the physiologic sigh, box breathing, and preferred music, 9 minutes of preferred music listening. This does it in like less than 5. And I have been able to track that using my own wearable Oura Ring to see my stress level plummet once I turn on the app, turn on my parasympathetic nervous system. Now, here's the thing. You need to be in parasympathetic nervous system in order for your body to repair, recover, and heal. It can't do those things during fight or flight. It doesn't do those things during fight or flight. So if you want to immediately start your body in the recovery cycle, you put in the NewCalm app for 20 minutes or more. It's better. More is better, but you can start with just as little as like 30 minutes, I think. And it will put your body in the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system so that you recover. You begin to recover fast. It's phenomenal. So there you go. I think that's like 7 devices for you. When it comes to the 7 pieces of wisdom, the first thing that I got to shout out is to Kyle Valerie, my trainer from Stretch Effect in San Diego, is learn which muscles you need to be activating for your sport. Athletes are the best compensators. That's his quote. And I was not using my glutes to move around on the court. I was using my hip flexors. I was pulling my body forward or pulling my body laterally rather than pushing my body forward or laterally. And so I was pulling my psoas or my hip flexors all the time, like it was a chronic condition for me. So I had to wear I was wearing these like compression shorts that had like super thick, compression in the hip flexor and in the glute to support them. And then it was like, well, just learn how to activate those muscles before you start to play. Train those muscles, those are the muscles so that you drive and you push. And I was like, oh, I'd never had that thought. So that neuromuscular connection had never been made. I was pulling and compensating, and the psoas muscle is tiny by comparison to the glute or glute maximus or glute medius. And so no wonder I was pulling it all the time, because I was making it work, try to do a thing that it couldn't do. It's like rock climbers trying to pull their way up a mountain instead of walk their way up the mountain. You use your legs when you climb. Oh, yeah, those are bigger muscles. Yeah, good idea. You use your hands to keep you on the rock. So there's a random shout out from my past as a climber. But yeah, so activating the right muscles. Once I learned how to do that, every time you see me on a court, you'll see me warm up. I do some exercises to heat up my body. And then you'll see me doing these shuffles on the court, side lateral shuffles. And what I'm doing during those shuffles is I'm specifically like taking my thumb and sticking it in my glute, pressing my glute and saying, drive, 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 drive. And I'm touching that muscle that I want to use. And it's sending a signal that if I want to go left, I've got to activate right glute. Now, that is something that I'd never made that connection prior to working with Kyle. And as soon as I started that simple practice, along with doing some kind of goofy psoas, hip flexor, and adductor exercises on my back in the morning and the evening for only about 2 minutes, but just doing these minor exercises to strengthen those muscles in case I accidentally go back to compensating with them. Knock on wood, I haven't had a hip flexor pull since I started working with Kyle, and I was pulling that all the time. So activate the right muscles and warm up your body. Please warm up your body before you play. Just heat up your body. Whether you do jumping jacks, whether you go for a run, in the parking lot, or you do wind sprints like on the court, heat up your body temperature, the muscles, the temperature of your muscles needs to warm up physically above baseline. They fire properly for athletics when you do that. We are not cheetahs. Humans are not cheetahs. And as we live mostly sedentary lifestyle, we don't walk all day. So our muscles are all kinds of atrophied and all kinds of in the wrong positions structurally on a daily basis as a modern human. So they need the warm up. Okay. Particularly as you grow older, but like go watch elite athletes of any age. They're all doing warm ups before they perform, because that's what unlocks high performance. And the better you move on the court, the better you play, and the less injured you get, and the less sore you are for the rest of the day. Come on, people, let's make this easy on ourselves. Let's not be sore all day. You want to stretch afterwards. And here's why. The next time you go for a run, the next time you go play pickleball, just for giggles, do this little observational study. At the beginning, just go to do a toe touch. Okay, just try to touch your toes before you play or before you run. Then go run or play, do whatever your athletic activity is. And then at the end, when you're all like sweaty and hot, try to touch your toes. You're tighter at the end of your workout than you were at the beginning. You didn't loosen up as you exercised. You tighten up. So you'll be like, whoa, crap, look at that. Like in my head, I thought like my muscles would stretch out as I play and as I do the thing I do. The opposite happens. So you have to undo all that constriction. So you want to stretch while your body is still warm at the end of the workout. So ask anybody I play with. I am the last to leave. You will hear me say, all right, guys, I'm going to go do my cool down, my stretches. I'll see you later. But you won't see me getting in my car ahead of anybody else in my group ever. Because I know that if I take 5, 10, 15 minutes and stretch before I get in my car, my body works better when I get out of my car. All right, next. This one comes from a host of different sources, but definitely Dr. Brian Lee, Dr. Arash Maksudi. I know Kyle talked about this as well. Jill Martin talked about this, but the source is not the symptom. And the symptom is not the source often. So what does that mean? Well, if you're having low back pain, does that mean you have a problem with your low back? Maybe, maybe not. If you're having a issue with your hips, are your hips the issue? Maybe, maybe not. Your knee, does it mean your knee is the issue? Maybe, maybe not. It could be below or above in the chain. So you want to imagine from feet, knees, hips, low back, mid back, upper back, shoulder, elbow out. You're this long chain, right? With all of these different links. And what these guys and gals have said over and over again is just as often, the issue is like one exit away, up the freeway or down. It's like one body part away from where the symptom is the source. And now this body part is trying to compensate and is feeling the effects of that. So that is something that as you are dealing with, like, let's say you have a low back, tight low back, how is your mid-thoracic mobility? I didn't even know what mid-thoracic mobility meant before I started this podcast. I certainly didn't know what mobility was. And so it's been a huge wake-up call that the chain, like I need to be operating the chain. I need to be checking in and making sure I'm activating and stretching and loosening and mobilizing the chain in these various different places so that the whole thing is moving smoothly. Because if I take my eye off any one area, it might present pain or discomfort or, poor range of motion, stiffness, weakness somewhere else. And that may not actually be the source. It may just be the symptom. All right. Now you go put Voltaren on that as an anti-inflammatory, you're not treating the source. So you're just like, going to be stuck in this vicious circle of symptom and symptom management. So keep that in mind. And then work with a trainer so that you can understand which muscles are tight and which muscles are weak. There's a difference. And I also give credit to Jeff Cavalier on athleanx.com and the AthleanX YouTube channel, because he's a great physical therapist who talks about how to train like an athlete and lift like an athlete. And he talks about this as well, which is if you have a weak muscle, that is not a muscle you want to stretch. And if you have a tight muscle, that's not a muscle you want to be strengthening. You want to strengthen the weak muscle and stretch the tight muscle. And how do you know the difference? You might or might not. So, but when you work with a trainer, like they see your body working improperly instantly. They know, they can tell you exactly what's going on. Like they fast track this process so quickly. It is such a good investment of time and money to hire a trainer to be able to look at your body while you move, because they can see this stuff instantly. You don't know. Let me just be blunt. You don't know what to look for, and you can't observe your body while you're moving the way they can. So don't try. Just let them do it. And like they see stuff instantly as soon as they do an assessment. Next, cramps. Can we talk about cramps? Cramping's an issue in pickleball for people. I'm blessed to say that I have gotten a cramp in my right trap twice. And I know exactly what tournaments they were. I know exactly what matches they were. One was in singles, one was in doubles. Those are the only two times I've ever cramped on a court in, I don't even know how many tournaments I've played now, or rec games. Like, I just very happy that I've figured this out. And the thing, thanks to starting, like my first guest was Patrick Sullivan Jr. from Jigsaw Health. And he broke it down right out of the gate. And he said, listen, there's two types of cramps. He's like, you can cramp during exercise or you can cramp later. And I've heard of people suffer from both, and I've observed people suffer from both. He goes, they're not the same cramp. So if you're cramping while you exercise, you don't have enough sodium and potassium in your system. If you're cramping after you exercise, you don't have enough magnesium in your system. Now, let me tell you, I'm doing a lot of work in the longevity and human optimization space with my clinical work and my day job as a speaker. Nobody's getting enough magnesium. I can tell you that right now. And so nobody's hydrating enough. We are a culture that is hypohydrated. That doesn't mean dehydrated, but it doesn't mean hydrated. And what we're not fueling in the morning with electrolytes just as a baseline. Like, we're probably don't have enough sodium, potassium in our tissues. We don't have enough water in our tissues. We don't have enough magnesium in our tissues. So we are like this, like 3-alarm fire waiting to happen, whether you're going to cramp during or cramp after. So now that it's the summertime at the time of this recording, this is like never more apparent because we're just sweating more than you do in the winter. But like, figure out your electrolyte mix for your body. Figure out, like, there are best practices for how much magnesium to get. There are different types of magnesium. They do different things. It's kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole. I do apologize in advance. I would say if you try to avoid going down the rabbit hole about which magnesiums to take and just like go with, like, I love Jigsaw's products. They have a great magnesium product. There's a very specific recommendations for, I think it's like roughly 350 to 400 milligrams a day of magnesium. Like, I guarantee nobody's getting that. It's just like, I tried to look in my diet, like how much was I getting? And I was like, oh, so I supplement with magnesium every night. Highly recommend that for how to deal with cramps. More sodium and potassium by day, more magnesium by night. And then the last but not least, how you sleep overnight has more to do with how you perform during the day than probably everything else I've said. Yeah, like I'm doing a ton of research right now on longevity and brain optimization, human optimization, biohacking. And like the biggest common denominator in all those kind of little micro niches of topic space is sleep. Sleep's the common denominator, like how you sleep, what it does, what you do. You guys, what your brain does overnight, like you literally would not believe what your brain does while you sleep. You would, if I told you, you'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. That's not possible. My brain doesn't physically squeeze like a third of its volume out overnight and then expand back up when I wake up. That doesn't happen. Yeah, it does. The drainage system, the sewage system of the brain that we now understand as the glymphatic system was only discovered 11 years ago. Okay. Like, no one knew literally till 2013. that was when they finally figured out, oh, wait a minute, this, like, we know about the lymphatic system, but we thought it was neck to foot. And then suddenly they realized this stuff goes up into our head somehow. Wait a minute, how do we transport all those toxins out of our head every night? Yo, the brain is crazy and sleep is crazy. Like, it's been a mind-blowing journey to learn about the restorative things that happen during your sleep. So we live in a culture of sleep deprivation where we romanticize and glamorize sleep deprivation. That's dumb. Don't be dumb. Sleep. Get the amount of sleep you need and get the right sleep. So you sleep in 3 phases overnight. 2 of them are super valuable. One of them's kind of useless, to be honest. Like, light sleep is literally called junk sleep. Like, nothing happens during light sleep. Like, the only times you are recovering and healing and rebuilding and learning and remembering and integrating and improving is during deep sleep and during REM sleep. And if you don't have a way to track that, you don't know how well you're sleeping. You don't even know how long you're sleeping. So I wear this device. If you're just listening, I'm pointing to a ring on my finger. It's called Ring-Con. It's like an Oura ring, but less expensive. And it tracks the quality and the quantity of my sleep every night. And I can see how I'm doing. And I can kind of gauge, okay, what did I do the night before and the day before that impacted my sleep overnight? Because your sleep hygiene has more to do, like, now, your day performance, you ready for this? Your day performance has more to do with how you sleep than anything else. But your sleep performance has everything to do with how you start your day the day before. So you will want to go way back, 2 years back, to my episode with Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor himself, that's called Sleep Better, Play Better, to understand sleep hygiene. How do you start your day so that you sleep well? Like, come on, it's not intuitive that if you walk outside in the morning and get 15 minutes of sunlight into your eyeballs, that sets a circadian clock for 16 hours later to trigger melatonin. Who would know that? Like, that's not common knowledge. That's not even intuitive, right? And that caffeine has a quarter life. So that means that 12 hours after you consume caffeine, a quarter of it is still running through your bloodstream. Oh, well, that might really affect my sleep if I'm guzzling caffeine. Now, you might intuitively know that caffeine affects how you sleep, but did you understand that caffeine has what's called a quarter life? I'd never even heard the term quarter life. I had heard half-life, right, from chemistry. I hadn't heard quarter life before. So I was like, oh, that's new information. That's really helpful. So, yeah, figure out your sleep, man. I got to tell you, like, when I went through my concussion in 2016, 17, that's when I first started to read about how important sleep was to brain injury and recovery. But then I started finding out how sleep mattered for daily performance, and that sleep deprivation presents the same symptoms as, like, blowing a 0.08 BAC. Yeah, like, you're literally drunk on sleep deprivation. Like, the toxins, what they do to your brain if you don't clean them out during your sleep. You present with the same symptoms as someone who has ADHD, someone who has clinical depression, just from not getting enough sleep. Now, let's just, like, fast forward this for a second. Imagine you go to your doctor and you tell them your symptoms, and they hear depression, and they put you on an SSRI. Or they hear sleep disorder, and they put you on a sleep medication, right? Or they hear ADHD, and they put you on an ADHD medication, right? Now, those are very, very different medications, all from just not getting enough sleep, right? Or not getting good sleep because you haven't figured out your sleep hygiene yet. You might not have a sleep disorder. So these are really, guys, these are foundational things where we can take care of ourselves, and they have these huge knock-on effects that go, frankly, way beyond pickleball. And I think at the end of the day, I think that's part of the reason I'm wrapping up the pickleball focus on this, is that I've been through a rough year. Last year, as you know, with my concussion, I had 56 days of suicidal thoughts. That's exhausting, especially for anybody. I'm lucky that I have my clinical background and understanding what was going on, but, like, I had to tell myself not to kill myself 56 times. Like, what would have happened if it was like on the 57th or the 67th or the 77th time, right? Like, that woke me up that like I need to get back to basics and take care of myself, because my life is the most important thing I got. It's more important than pickleball, right? And then recently my stepdad passed away. And again, it was like this great reminder. It was like, there are things out there, like how are you taking care of your health, your relationships, right? Those two things, because all the wealth in the world goes away the moment you stop breathing. So you can't fix your relationships when you're dead. And, he who has their health has 1,000 wishes. He who doesn't has but one. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I'm just going to say, listen, it's been a privilege to share all this with you. Thank you for listening to me in a world of 1 million people who talk on podcasts and blogs and YouTube channels. Like, it's endless, right? And everybody with a microphone now has an opinion. And I have to just say, like, in full honesty, like, I really appreciate you choosing to listen to me. It's humbling. It's a privilege that I have, that I get to engage in this with you. And I have a favor to ask at the end of all of this, right? Can you tell me what it was like for you? Would you be so kind to return the favor? Would you either leave, a rate or a review just so I can read them? But even better than those, could you go over onto Instagram or onto Facebook, leave me a note, comment on one of the episodes if you're watching on YouTube. Leave me a note. What'd you learn? What did you appreciate? How did this help? Did it help? Like, if any of those things, if that was a yes in some way for you, would you please let me know? Because this is like a weird experience. Like, usually as a speaker, like, I'm in a room full of people or on the Zoom where I'm interacting with them. But in this space, I don't get to interact with you. And the biggest joy I have, and it was with this podcast, was when I would be out on tour and someone would walk up to the booth and they were a listener. And they would introduce themselves and they would recognize me. Or I remember being on court warming up in Florida for the NPL Combine. And one of the people I was warming up with recognized my voice as I was talking to her. She was like, I know who you are, right? But she hadn't seen me before because she listened. And so it was this fascinating thing to finally connect. And I think that's what we're meant to do as humans, is to connect. And so please connect with me. Stay tuned for more exciting things in the world of human health and optimization, sports and technology. I don't exactly know what that's going to look like, but I have a feeling something's coming down the pike. But I do need a break. And I will definitely let you know what's next when I decide what that is. In the meantime, you can still follow me at Tim Ringgold on Instagram or on Facebook, and you can follow me on my website at Tim Ringgold, which is just timringgold.com, because I help people through lots of different things in life, not just how to move better and play better in pickleball. So if, like, any area of your life you've found you're struggling with that I help people with, whether that's addiction, whether that's grief, whether that's stress, or your organization or the people you work with or serve are struggling with any of those things, get in touch. How can I help? Let me know. Okay. It's been a privilege. Thank you. And play on. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for listening. Did you know there's one place on the web for all your recovery needs? It's at www.pickleballrecovery.com. You'll find all the products I personally use and recommend, along with exclusive discounts on many of them, as well as my blog, where I help you make sense out of all the different products and practices out there to keep you moving and feeling better so you play better. After all, your body is the most expensive piece of equipment you own. Also, do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.